them both light up?
In the grand tradition of overreacting, the liberal mainstream media has outdone itself again. The recent live conversation between Elon Musk and Donald Trump has sent them into a frenzy of hand-wringing and pearl-clutching. You'd think the world was ending. But relax, folks. It's just another Tuesday. The event, hosted on X, was like the media equivalent of a full moon. Liberal outlets from coast to coast braced for what they were sure would be the conversation that destroyed civilization as we know it.
Elon Musk is slated to interview Donald Trump tonight on X. I don't know if the president is going to tune in. Feel free to say if he is or not. But I think that misinformation on Twitter is not just a campaign issue. It's it's an America issue. What role does the White House or the president have in sort of stopping that, or stopping the spread of that, or sort of intervening in that? Some of that was about campaign misinformation, but it's a wider thing, right?
Yeah, no, and you've heard us talk about this many times from here, about the responsibilities that social media platforms have when it comes to misinformation, disinformation. Don't have anything to read out from here about specific ways that we're working on it, but we believe that they have the responsibility. These are private companies, so we're also mindful of that too. But look, it is. I think it is incredibly important to call that out as you're doing. I just don't have any specifics on what we have been doing internally as it relates to the interviews. Not something that I'm tracking, and I'm sure the president's not tracking it either.
Apparently, when Musk and Trump get together, it's not just a conversation. It's a sign of the apocalypse. Forget the four horsemen. It's these two you've got to watch out for. The headlines practically wrote themselves. Musk and Trump team up to destroy democracy, and free speech or free fall. Why this conversation spells doom. And my personal favorite, Elon and Donald, the end of the world as we know it. I wouldn't be surprised if one of these liberal mainstream outlets even suggested that watching the conversation might make you spontaneously combust.
Space is not available. 5 words and a failure tonight for a much anticipated conversation between Elon Musk and Donald Trump. That X event that everyone was supposed to watch, well, it broke the internet, and not in the Beyonce kind of way. If you are trying to click over to watch that Trump-Musk talk, which I believe is still ongoing, for most of the time you couldn't do it for about 40 minutes. And when the interview finally did get underway, Trump went into his normal stump speech, including more Kamala Harris insults. This was, Tara, just maybe an allegory of what's been going on with the Trump campaign for some time.
Yeah.
40 minutes on hold. They start off, it's meandering, and he's doing exactly what a lot of people are trying to tell him not to do, which is attacking Harris not on substance, but just because she exists.
Yeah, I mean, this shouldn't be news. This is what Trump does. He does the complete opposite of what everyone else tells him to do. He's petulant and intransigent, and he thinks that he's his own best campaign manager, consultant, political communications guru, and there's a reason why he's now losing. There's a reason why Kamala Harris, the swing in the polls, that Kamala Harris has overtaken him in swing states. People are tired of this act. It's a Vegas lounge act now. He needs new material. And the insults are something that, particularly for moderates and moderate women, who are an important constituency, if Trump thinks he's gonna win this time around, they don't wanna hear this. And so the people who have been running his campaign are very smart, veteran political operatives, and now they're facing the honeymoon period of keeping a disciplined Trump together is over. This is Donald Trump unleashed. He's gonna do what he wants to do, and it's not working for him. And the polls show why it isn't.
I'm gonna play a little bit of what he's been saying on this X stream. He talks about Harris, and really seems to be still grappling with the fact that she's now the candidate and it's not Joe Biden anymore.
It's like watching Grumpy Old Man or something. I don't mind attacking a person for their policies or their positions, but he's just sort of griping just because she exists, to your point, and I think we know why he's griping because she exists. She's a black woman.
If you didn't know better, You might have thought this was a pay-per-view event with liberal commentators breathlessly predicting that Musk would finally reveal he's a robot sent from the future, and Trump would declare himself the supreme leader of Mars. Spoiler, neither happened. But what actually transpired? A mix of tech talk, political jabs, and some classic Trumpian hyperbole. Musk, as usual, was a bit cryptic, probably because he was simultaneously tweeting, running Tesla, and figuring out how to colonize Mars. Trump, on the other hand, was in his element, offering his greatest hits of crowd-pleasing slogans and occasionally reminding everyone that yes, he was once president, in case anyone forgot. But why let facts get in the way of a good story? The liberal media did what it does best, taking a conversation that was part hilarious, part entertaining, and completely eye-opening, and turning it into a dire warning about the future of humanity.
Look, only about 1.3 million people listened to this. It took an age to begin, and I was one of those who did wait around for it to begin. And then, of course, it never ended. It just went on and on and on. It wasn't an interview. It was a very softball, quite eccentric conversation between a donor and his candidate. None of the tough questions were asked. Musk did try and sort of push some of his hobby horses, like controlling spending, which Trump would hear nothing of. Trump is not into controlling spending. But I think the net effect here is it really just to confirm what we saw in Trump's press conference in Mar-a-Lago last week, and when he addressed the National Association of Black Journalists a couple of days before, which is that he isn't resetting. He's not a new Trump. He's not a disciplined, razor-like focused new candidate who is going to define Kamala Harris. He is, as somebody else made the analogy, he's like Spinal Tap on tour, an aging rock band on tour playing its greatest hits. I don't think he's going to come up with anything new. I mean, the richest man in the world is, I think, an extremely dangerous one for democracy. My point about Musk's risk to democracy was also about X, his use of X. And my own country, as you know, has had race riots, has had racist attacks on refugee communities based on false information that a Muslim refugee had killed these 3 girls a few days ago in the UK. Musk not only allowed the amplification of that misinformation, potentially lethal disinformation, but he retweeted and endorsed far-right people in Britain, far-right racist thugs, let's not mince our words about this, who he had reinstated on the site, on X, that helped generate riot situations on the ground. This is a proprietor tilting the disinformation playing field towards really bad actors. And so my concern is if he can do that in that kind of situation and saying things like civil war is inevitable, he wants conflict. If he can stoke racial conflict in situations like that, well, what can he do when push comes to shove in this US general election? Now that he's explicitly endorsed Donald Trump, he can be an extremely consequential and bad actor. And I think we ought to pay a lot of attention to this. Musk is not well-intentioned when it comes to US liberal democracy.
As the liberal mainstream media has the tendency to do, they chose to sound the alarm, proving once again that when it comes to having an open conversation about topics that affect the American people, the liberal mainstream media is more concerned about wanting to censor the Republican Party and prop up the Democrat Party. So, what's the moral of the story? Maybe it's that sometimes two larger-than-life personalities having a conversation isn't the end of the world. Or maybe it's just that the Democrats should all stop taking everything so seriously and become more open to having discussions about topics rather than hiding in the basement like Kamala Harris has been doing over the past 3 weeks. In the end, the conversation between Elon Musk and Donald Trump was exactly what we should have expected. An eye-opening, surreal, and oddly entertaining spectacle that gave the liberal media an excuse to do what they do best: overreact and overanalyze. And for that, we can all be grateful, because sometimes we all need a reminder of how ridiculously incompetent the liberal mainstream media truly is.